Hello there. Before we begin, settle in. Check your pillows, your blankets, your whole space. Make sure you're comfortable. Really comfortable. Tonight, we're going to June 1944, Normandy. And as we start, I'm curious, where are you listening from? What time is it where you are? Drop your city, your country, your hour in the comments. It's fascinating to imagine all of us here at once. Well, not exactly at once. You know what I mean. Now, take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Feel your body sink into wherever you're resting. And now, imagine this. Gray light seeping through cracks in concrete. The smell of wet stone, gun oil, salt from the ocean, mingled with unwashed bodies. Yours included. You are 17. Your name doesn't matter anymore. Just another body in field gray. Another pair of eyes to watch the English Channel. Another set of hands to hold a rifle. And you wait. You push yourself up from the thin bedroll. Your back aches. Everything aches. The concrete floor beneath you has been your bed for months. Before that, mud in Russia. Before that, a hospital bed in Berlin, where frostbite claimed 3 of your toes. They called you lucky. You'll recover on the Atlantic coast, they said. Guard duty. Easy work. You've learned it's not much of a privilege when your last meal was stale bread and coffee that tasted like dirt. You haven't eaten in 3 days. Outside, the morning is quiet. Too quiet. June 5th, 1944. Waiting has become almost unbearable. You move to the narrow embrasure. Your MG-42 machine gun sits there, clean and oiled, polished, so often your hands remember it even blindfolded. There's not much else to do. Guard duty. Cards. Sleep. Repeat. The beach stretches below, dotted with sand obstacles, stakes, tripods, barbed wire, and mines everywhere. RML called them asparagus, those angled poles that rise like broken teeth from the sand. Months of work, all in preparation. Will it be enough? You don't know. Nobody knows. A joke circulates, but it has no laughter anymore. If you see a black plane, it's British. White plane, American. If you see nothing at all, it's the Luftwaffe. The Luftwaffe is gone. Fighting elsewhere. You're on your own. Your throat is dry. Water is rationed. Everything is rationed. The Atlantic wall stretches along the coast. Thousands of bunkers, millions of mines, the pride of the Reich. And yet, from inside, it feels like a prison. Concrete cold and unyielding. 2 meters thick. Built to last 1,000 years. Maybe built to be your tomb. You lean against the wall, thinking, waiting, listening to distant waves. Days pass like this. Hours blur. Supply trucks come sometimes. Mostly they don't. Hunger gnaws quietly at your stomach. You pass the time moving from one guard post to another. You see your comrades, the older Klaus, the younger Becca, Mahler, Hans, trapped in the same slow rhythm. Eyes vacant. Hands trembling. Every explosion, heard miles away, rattles the concrete. Your body tenses. You remind yourself. Training. Soldier. Not a boy of 17 with frostbitten toes and an empty stomach. At night, you lie on your bedroll. Dust trickles down from the ceiling. The sound of breathing surrounds you. You think of home, of sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, the faint laughter of a sister you barely remember. Then, distant engines. Aircraft. Not one, not 2, hundreds. The invasion begins. The world outside your bunker is fire, smoke, noise, and you grip the MG-42. Heart pounding. Hands shaking. You are 17. And this is your night. The distant rumble of engines fades slightly, leaving a low hum in the background. You sit in the bunker, listening to your own breathing, counting it slowly, trying to calm your racing heart. The concrete beneath your hands feels cold, almost liquid in its hardness. You glance at the MG42, resting as if it were a part of your body. Its weight is familiar. Its presence comforting. Not safe, but familiar. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time feels like a thin, endless ribbon stretching along the gray walls. Klaus sits nearby, his flashlight casting long, slow shadows across the floor. He hasn't said a word for a while. Sometimes silence is worse than shouting. You imagine the beach below, the sand gray under a sky that refuses to brighten. Stakes, barbed wire, mines, shapes you've memorized in every detail. They don't move. They just wait. You stretch your legs slowly, careful not to disturb anyone else. Hunger gnaws faintly again, a dull pulse that seems to echo in your skull. There is nothing to eat tonight. There hasn't been for some time. You wonder if it will come tomorrow. Supply trucks. Food. Something warm. Something not stale. Something that reminds you you're alive. But perhaps that is just a thought to pass the waiting. From the far side of the bunker, the Ostripen mutter quietly in their own languages. Russian, Georgian, Polish, words that carry no comfort here. Some of them shift uneasily, clutching rifles they barely know how to use. You can almost feel their longing to be anywhere else, to surrender, to escape. And perhaps, deep down, you understand it. Survival is not the same as heroism. Survival is repetition. Survival is waiting. Muller shuffles a deck of worn cards, shoving them aimlessly across the table. Hans, Becca, Hans, each absorbed in their own private monotony, pretending to play, pretending not to notice the distant, persistent thrum of engines somewhere far above the clouds. The noise is constant, a reminder that the world outside exists, even if here it feels trapped in the slow crawl of minutes and hours. You rise again, moving to the embrasure, your hands brushing the cold steel of the gun. Outside, the ocean rolls in muted gray waves. No planes, no paratroopers, not yet. Just water and wind and sand. And yet your body cannot rest. Your hands tremble lightly. You focus on breathing, counting, noticing the faint metallic taste in your mouth. The bunker smells of stone, oil, sweat, life, barely sustained. You lean your forehead against the concrete. Just listen. Just breathe. Wait. The night continues. Somewhere far off, a bomb echoes softly, barely more than a whisper here. Your heart jumps, then slows again. You are 17. You are tired. You are cold. You are waiting. And waiting. And waiting. Hours pass, though it's impossible to tell. Time has no shape here, only a soft, unrelenting pressure. You remain near the embrasure, shoulders hunched, fingertips brushing the cold metal of your MG42. Outside, the sea moves lazily, gray blending into gray, the horizon almost invisible. A few gulls call faintly, their cries swallowed by the wind. You barely notice them, though, your mind fixed on nothing and everything at once. Klaus shifts beside you, adjusting his coat, the fabric whispering against concrete. He doesn't speak. Words seem too heavy for the night. Becca sits on the floor nearby, knees drawn up, head resting against the wall. You can hear the faint scrape of cards as Muller reshuffles them endlessly, though nobody plays anymore. The act itself has become a comfort, a ritual to pass the waiting. Your stomach aches again, empty and hollow. You remember the piece of bread from earlier, the stale coffee. You swallow slowly, trying to ignore the hunger. Hunger is just another sound, another rhythm to get used to. Your fingers flex around the trigger, flex and relax, almost unconsciously. The MG42 is heavy, reassuring in its weight, yet a reminder of everything that may soon come. Through the bunker walls, you catch muffled conversations in the other rooms. The Ostripans speak in clipped, foreign tones. Sometimes one of them laughs quietly, a brittle sound that vanishes immediately. You wonder if they are imagining home too, or if home has become a story told by memory, far away and almost unbelievable. Outside, the wind picks up slightly. The waves crash harder against the sand, sending small shivers through the walls. You listen. The ocean is patient. It has no hurry, no intention. You wonder if you will be patient like it, if you can endure the hours, the days, the endless monotony of waiting. Klaus lights another cigarette, hands shaking. He doesn't speak, just watches the gray horizon, lips moving slightly with each inhale. You imagine him thinking of his own home, perhaps a family, perhaps nothing at all. Your thoughts drift. You think of sunlight through a kitchen window, a faint smell of baking bread. You think of streets you may never walk again, the weight of your boots, the ache in your toes, the chill in your fingers. Waiting, breathing, watching. Everything repeats. Everything persists. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a tiny spark tells you, the world is about to change.
Soon.
Not now, but soon. You press your forehead lightly against the concrete once more, letting your body rest just a fraction, listening to the hum of distant engines and the sigh of the sea. You are 17. You are waiting. And you are still alive. The night stretches endlessly, each second indistinguishable from the last. You remain at the embrasure, fingertips tracing the familiar contours of the MG-42. Outside, the gray waves roll in a rhythm you have come to memorize. The wind whistles softly through gaps in the concrete, carrying with it the faint tang of salt and distant smoke. You listen. You wait. You breathe. A small, almost imperceptible flash catches your eye far beyond the beach. You blink, unsure if it was real, or just the trick of exhaustion on your eyes. Klaus notices too, leaning slightly forward, squinting. Neither of you speaks. The bunker is quiet except for the muted scraping of Muller's cards and the occasional sigh from Becca. The flash comes again, faint and brief, swallowed almost immediately by darkness. Your stomach twists with hunger. You swallow slowly, chewing the memory of the stale bread, the coffee that tasted like dirt. Hunger has become a rhythm now, a slow, insistent drum beneath everything else. Your hands flex around the gun.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
You imagine the weight of it, the comfort in its solidity, the purpose in its presence. Outside, the wind shifts slightly. You hear it first as a whisper, then as a soft, persistent hum. It could be the waves, it could be the trees, or it could be something else, something waiting far away. You glance at Klaus. His hands shake lightly as he adjusts the rifle strap. He does not speak, but you know he has noticed the same thing. The Ostripan mutter softly in the other room, voices hushed, tense. You can't understand the words, but the tone carries the same tension that knots your own stomach. Everything is quiet, and yet not quiet. Waiting has made noise intimate. Every distant sound feels immediate, threatening. You press your forehead to the concrete again, feeling the cold seep through your hair, through your skin. Minutes, or maybe hours, pass. The flash appears again, a little brighter this time. Distant, but unmistakable. Somewhere far off, a low, rolling boom follows. Your heart jumps, then slows. You are 17. You are tired. You are cold. You are waiting. And yet, despite the monotony, despite the hunger, despite the endless gray stretching before you, something inside whispers, soon. Something is coming. You sink slightly against the concrete, breathing slowly, letting the weight of the bunker hold you. Outside, the sea moves on. Time stretches, unyielding, unending. You are waiting. You are 17. You are alive. The bunker is still. Almost. You sit near the embrasure, your back pressed against the cold concrete, hands resting lightly on the MG42. The wind carries a faint chill, crawling along the cracks in the walls. You breathe slowly, listening to the low, constant rhythm of the sea. Waves lap against the beach in a gray, endless motion. You almost feel as if the ocean itself is waiting, patient, indifferent. Then a soft, distant sound, like a sigh carried over water. At first, you think it's the wind. Then again it repeats. Low, rhythmic, almost mechanical. Your fingers tighten around the gun. You blink slowly. Klaus shifts beside you, leaning forward, eyes narrowing into the dim light. He doesn't speak, but you sense the same unease pressing on him. Muller's cards scrape across the wooden crate again, a soft, dull sound that reminds you of your own pulse. Becca whispers something under her breath, a small word lost to the bunker's shadows. Hans adjusts his boots, a quiet scrape that seems louder than it should be. Every tiny sound feels magnified. Every shadow stretches a little longer, a little darker. You breathe. Slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Outside, the gray horizon shimmers faintly, a movement you almost ignore. A flash, pale and fleeting, ripples over the distant water. You hold your breath. It is far away, yet it seems to reach you, echoing in the hollow of your chest. Your stomach twists. Hunger is still there, quiet and insistent. You imagine chewing bread. Chewing stale bread. Swallowing slowly. Flexing your fingers again on the MG42. Somewhere beyond the bunker, a faint hum builds, soft and almost imperceptible. Your body tenses, but your mind reminds you, wait.
Watch.
Observe. You are 17. You are cold. You are waiting. The Ostripen murmur softly in their rooms, shifting uneasily. The sound is foreign, unfamiliar, yet it feels familiar in this space of monotony and anticipation. The flash appears once more, slightly brighter, slightly closer. You shift slightly to see, careful not to make a sound. The sea rolls beneath the dim sky, gray on gray, indifferent. And yet, there is a sense, subtle, unspoken, that something is moving within the gray. You press your forehead against the concrete again, letting its chill ground you. You breathe. Slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. Hours or maybe minutes pass. You feel the bunker settle around you. Your hands ache faintly, your stomach twists. You are 17. You are tired. You are waiting. You are alive. And outside, the gray world moves ever so slightly, patient, unhurried, and indifferent. The bunker is silent again, almost perfectly, except for the soft sigh of the wind through the cracks and the faint, endless murmur of the sea. You remain at the embrasure, shoulders pressed lightly against the cold concrete, fingers resting on the MG42. The metal is familiar, reassuring, yet its weight reminds you that something may come, or may not. You flex your fingers slowly, over and over, tracing each curve and groove. Outside, a faint shimmer moves across the water. At first, you think it's merely reflection, the gray horizon playing tricks on your eyes. Then again, the shimmer pulses, almost imperceptibly, like the surface is breathing. Klaus shifts beside you, shoulders hunched, eyes narrowing. He doesn't speak. You don't either. Words feel heavy in this slow, unending night. Muller continues to shuffle cards softly, each scrape of paper a steady, monotonous rhythm. Becca leans back against the wall, knees drawn up, eyes half closed, whispering small, Incoherent words. Hans rocks slightly, boots scraping faintly against the floor. Every sound feels amplified in the stillness, every movement significant in the quiet monotony. The Ostripan mutter again in the next room, voices low and tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish, words you cannot understand, yet the tone carries the same weight of waiting, of anxious patience. You imagine their thoughts drifting far from here, to homes they may never return to. Your own thoughts drift as well, to sunlight, to the faint smell of bread, to streets and rooms that now feel impossibly distant. A low, distant hum rises from the horizon. You tense, then relax, reminding yourself, just wait, watch, observe. The gray waves roll endlessly, uncaring, rhythmic, patient. You press your forehead against the cool concrete, feeling the cold seep into your hair, your skin. Flex your fingers again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Breathe slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. Then, a small flash on the horizon, almost lost in the gray, ripples faintly. Not bright, not urgent, just noticeable enough to draw your eyes. Your chest tightens slightly, not with fear, but with anticipation. Somewhere, far off, there is movement, subtle and slow. And yet, nothing approaches quickly. The world outside remains indifferent, patient. The bunker holds you, cold and steady. You are 17. You are tired. You are waiting. You are alive. The gray horizon seems to shift, almost imperceptibly. You lean forward slightly at the embrasure, hands resting lightly on the MG42. The metal is cold beneath your fingers, familiar, reassuring. Outside, the waves roll in their steady rhythm, indifferent and endless. The wind whistles softly through the cracks in the bunker walls, carrying the faint tang of salt. Then a faint, distant vibration reaches the bunker, almost too soft to notice. You hold your breath. Klaus notices too, his shoulders tensing slightly. Neither of you speaks. Everything in the bunker feels slower now, the air heavier with anticipation. Time stretches thin. Each second drags, measured only by the subtle sounds of distant movement. Muller continues shuffling cards, the scrape of paper the only other rhythm. Becca's whisper drifts faintly across the floor, barely audible. Hans shifts, boots scraping, a small sound that seems louder in the quiet. Every little noise feels magnified in the monotony of waiting. You flex your fingers on the gun, flex. Relax.
Flex.
The motion is comforting, repetitive, grounding. A flicker appears on the horizon again, faint and quick. Not bright, not urgent, just noticeable enough to make your chest tighten. Somewhere, far away, movement stirs. A shadow crossing the gray waves, a faint, rhythmic pulse in the distance. Your stomach twists lightly. Hunger hums in the background, quiet now, a familiar companion. You swallow slowly, focusing on the sensation of your breath in your chest. The Ostripan murmur in the next room, voices low, tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish, languages you cannot understand, yet the tone carries the same anxious weight. You imagine their thoughts far from here, to homes they may never see again. And you, too, drift to memory. Sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, the quiet rhythm of life before waiting became the only thing. Another flash, a little brighter, a little closer. The hum grows subtly louder, like a distant engine far beyond the beach. You press your forehead to the cold concrete, letting its chill ground you. Your fingers flex on the MG42, flex. Relax.
Flex. In, out, in, out.
Waiting. 17 years old. Tired.
Cold.
Waiting.
Alive.
And outside, the gray world continues its slow, patient motion, indifferent to everything. You sit at the embrasure, back pressed against the cold concrete, eyes tracing the gray horizon. The MG-42 rests beneath your hands, heavy and steady. The waves roll below, indifferent and endless. The wind whispers softly through the cracks in the bunker walls, carrying the familiar smell of salt and stone. You breathe slowly, deliberately in.
Out. In. Out.
Waiting. A faint vibration reaches the bunker again. A low, distant thrum. Your chest tightens slightly. Klaus notices it too, shoulders tensing. Neither of you speaks. Everything in the bunker feels thicker now, heavier with anticipation. Time stretches thin, measured only by the subtle movement beyond the horizon. Muller continues shuffling the cards, soft, repetitive, the scrape of paper steady in the stillness. Becca leans against the wall, whispering quietly, words lost in the shadows. Hans shifts, boots scraping lightly on the concrete floor. Every little sound seems magnified, echoing in the quiet monotony. Your fingers flex over the MG-42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Comforting. Repetitive. Grounding. A faint flicker catches your eye on the horizon. It is subtle, almost too quick to notice, but unmistakable. Somewhere far beyond the beach, movement stirs. Shadows crossing the gray water, tiny pulses of light. Your stomach twists with a familiar ache of hunger, silent yet persistent. You swallow slowly, focusing on the rhythm of your own breathing. The Ostripan murmur in the next room, voices low, tense, foreign, Russian, Georgian, Polish. The words are incomprehensible, yet the anxious tone carries clearly. You imagine their thoughts stretching far from here, toward homes that may never welcome them again. Your mind drifts as well. Sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly distant. Another flicker a little closer this time. The distant hum rises slightly, like engines far across the water, steady and unhurried. You press your forehead to the cold concrete, letting the chill settle into your skin. Fingers flex again over the MG-42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. 17. Tired. Cold. Waiting.
Alive.
And beyond the bunker, the gray world continues, patient, indifferent, unhurried. The bunker feels impossibly still, though you know it is not. The concrete presses against your back, cold and unyielding. The MG-42 rests beneath your hands, its weight steady and familiar. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, indifferent and slow. The wind whispers through the cracks, carrying salt, stone, and the faint trace of smoke from far away. You breathe. Slowly.
In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. A subtle movement catches your eye on the horizon. Gray upon gray, almost invisible, yet shifting in a way that cannot be ignored. You lean closer to the embrasure, shoulders hunched, eyes narrowing. Klaus mirrors your posture, silent, tense. The rest of the bunker seems to hold its breath with you, the weight of the night pressing down. Muller's card scrapes softly across the wooden crate, a rhythm that echoes in the quiet. Becca's whisper drifts faintly through the shadows. Hans shifts, boots scraping lightly. The small sounds feel amplified in the monotony, stretching time into an endless loop. You flex your fingers over the MG-42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Reassuring.
Grounding.
Familiar. The Ostripan mutters softly in the next room, voices low, tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You cannot understand the words, yet the tone carries the same anxious patience. You imagine them thinking of home, distant and unreachable, as your own thoughts wander to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms you may never see again. Another flicker appears, closer now. Not bright, not urgent, just enough to make your heart tighten subtly. Shadows shift across the distant sand, barely visible in the gray light. The hum you have been hearing grows slightly, a steady, unhurried presence. You press your forehead to the concrete, letting the chills seep into your skin. Fingers flex over the gun again.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. 17. Tired.
Cold.
Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray world continues its slow, patient rhythm. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Distant flashes appear and disappear. You remain, attentive but calm, suspended in the monotony, a single point of observation in a vast, indifferent landscape. And somewhere, just beyond sight, something moves, patient, slow, and inevitable. The bunker is quiet, almost unnaturally so. Your back rests against the cold concrete, fingers brushing the familiar weight of the MG42. Outside, the gray waves continue their endless motion, indifferent and slow. The wind whispers softly through the cracks, carrying salt, stone, and a distant, smoky tang. You breathe slowly.
In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. A low, distant rumble reaches you. Barely audible at first, like the earth itself breathing beneath the sand. You tense slightly, then relax. Klaus notices too, his shoulders tightening in the faint light. Neither of you speaks. The hum of distant engines or perhaps artillery is slow, steady, patient. Time seems to stretch into an unbroken ribbon, measured only by the movement of the sea and the faint vibrations underfoot. Muller continues shuffling cards softly, the scrape of paper a comforting rhythm. Becca whispers, almost inaudibly, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots scraping the floor ever so lightly. Every little noise is magnified, every motion deliberate, part of the endless monotony of waiting. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
The motion grounds you. It is familiar. It is steady. Outside, faint flashes appear again, more frequent now, reflections off the gray waves. Shadows shift slightly across the distant beach, almost imperceptible but noticeable enough to pull your attention. Hunger twists quietly in your stomach, a persistent reminder of absence. You swallow slowly, focusing on the rhythm of your own breathing, letting it steady you. The Ostripan murmur in the next room, voices low and anxious. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You do not understand the words, but the tone carries. You imagine their thoughts drifting far away, to homes they may never see again. Your own mind drifts too, to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms that now feel impossibly distant. Another faint rumble, a little closer, a little louder. Your chest tightens gently. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. 17.
Cold.
Tired. Waiting.
Alive.
The gray horizon stretches endlessly, patient, indifferent. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Distant hums persist. And somewhere far away, something is moving.
Slow.
Unhurried. Inevitable. The bunker feels impossibly still, though you know it is not. Your back rests against the cold concrete, hands lightly on the MG42, fingers flexing slowly. Outside, the gray waves roll without pause, indifferent, unhurried. The wind whistles softly through cracks, carrying salt and the faint tang of smoke far away. You breathe slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. A subtle shift catches your eye. Across the distant beach, shadows move slightly, faint and deliberate. At first, you think it is only the wind playing tricks, but the pattern repeats. Klaus notices it too, leaning forward, silent. Neither of you speaks. The quiet hum of engines or distant artillery is low, persistent, almost soothing in its rhythm. Time stretches, measured only by the slow, patient motion of sea and sand. Muller continues shuffling cards, each scrape soft, a repetitive, steady rhythm. Becca whispers quietly, curling against the wall, voice almost swallowed by shadows. Hans shifts, boots scraping lightly. Every small sound feels magnified, emphasized by the stillness. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
Flex,
Relax.
flex.
Comforting.
Steady.
Familiar. Outside, flashes appear more frequently. Gray waves catch faint reflections, shadows crossing the distant beach in slow, deliberate patterns. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, persistent but familiar. You swallow slowly, letting your breathing steady the tension, focusing on the rhythm in your chest. The Ostripen mutter in their rooms, voices low and tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You do not understand the words, but the anxious tone reaches you. Their thoughts seem far away, drifting toward homes they may never see again. Your own mind drifts, imagining sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly distant. Another rumble, faint yet closer. You feel it in the floor beneath your boots. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex,
Relax.
flex. In, out, in, out.
17. Tired.
Cold.
Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly, patient and indifferent. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move slowly across the beach. And somewhere far away, movement continues, deliberate, steady, inevitable. The bunker is quiet, but not still. Your back presses against the cold concrete, hands resting lightly on the MG42. The weight is familiar, grounding, a constant companion. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, indifferent and slow. The wind whispers softly through the cracks, carrying salt and faint smoke from far away. You breathe slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. A faint, deliberate shimmer appears on the horizon, subtle but noticeable. Shadows shift across the distant beach, moving slowly, deliberately. Klaus leans forward slightly, eyes narrowed, sensing the pattern too. Neither of you speaks. The hum of distant engines or artillery is steady, almost hypnotic. Time stretches, measured only by the slow, patient rhythm of the sea. Muller shuffles his cards softly, the scrape of paper a quiet rhythm in the stillness. Becca whispers faintly, curling against the wall, voice lost in shadows. Hans shifts, boots scraping lightly. Every small sound feels magnified, each motion deliberate. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
Flex,
Relax.
flex.
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes appear more frequently, reflections glimmering on the gray waves. Shadows on the beach move in subtle, deliberate patterns. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, quiet and persistent. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you in the rhythm of the bunker. The Ostripan murmur low in the next room, voices tense, distant. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You do not understand the words, but the anxious tone carries. You imagine their thoughts drifting far away, toward homes they may never see again. Your mind drifts too, to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms that feel impossibly far away. Another low rumble reaches the bunker, slightly closer now. You feel it in the floor beneath your boots. Fingers flex on the MG42 again.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In, out, in, out.
17.
Cold. Tired.
Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly, patient and indifferent. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move slowly across the beach. And somewhere far away, movement continues, deliberate, slow, inevitable. The bunker presses in around you, cold and unyielding. Your back rests against the concrete, hands lightly on the MG42, fingers flexing slowly. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, indifferent, rhythmical. The wind whistles softly through the cracks, carrying the faint taste of salt and smoke from somewhere far away. You breathe slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. A faint pattern begins to emerge on the distant beach. Shadows shift slightly, moving not randomly but in small, deliberate groups. You lean closer to the embrasure, sensing the rhythm. Klaus mirrors your posture, tense, silent. The distant hum of engines or artillery grows subtly, steady and unhurried. Time stretches, measured by the patient rhythm of waves and wind. Muller scrapes his cards across the crate softly, a quiet, steady rhythm in the stillness. Becca whispers almost inaudibly, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing the floor lightly. Each small noise feels magnified, emphasized by the monotony. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. Comforting.
Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes appear with increasing frequency. Shadows shift in small groups, moving slowly, deliberately across the distant sand. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, persistent yet dull. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you in the bunker's rhythm. The Ostripan murmur low in the next room, voices tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You cannot understand their words, yet the anxious tone reaches you. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never see again. Your thoughts drift to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly distant. A low rumble reaches the bunker, slightly closer than before, vibrating faintly through the floor. You press your forehead to the cold concrete. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In, out, in, out.
17.
Cold.
Tired. Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move slowly across the beach in small, deliberate groups. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient.
Slow.
Inevitable. The bunker feels heavier tonight, cold pressing against your back, hands resting lightly on the MG42. The metal is familiar, grounding. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, slow and indifferent. The wind whispers through cracks, carrying salt and faint smoke from far away. You breathe slowly.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. A faint shimmer appears across the distant beach, almost imperceptible. Shadows move in small, deliberate patterns more noticeable than before. Klaus leans slightly forward, eyes narrowed, shoulders tense. Neither of you speaks. The distant hum of engines or artillery is steady, a low presence, almost hypnotic. Time stretches, measured only by the slow rhythm of waves and wind. Muller scrapes his cards across the crate again, soft, repetitive. Becca whispers faintly, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing the floor lightly. Every little sound feels magnified in the stillness. You flex your fingers on the MG42. Flex. Relax.
Flex.
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes appear more frequently, reflected faintly on the gray waves. Shadows shift slowly across the distant sand, moving with subtle coordination. Hunger twists quietly in your stomach, persistent but background. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you to the bunker's rhythm. The Ostripen murmur low, voices tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You cannot understand the words, yet their anxious tone carries clearly. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never return to. Your mind drifts to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly distant. Another low rumble reaches the bunker, a little closer than before, vibrating faintly through the floor. You press your forehead to the cold concrete. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
17. Cold. Tired. Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly, patient and indifferent. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move slowly in deliberate groups. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient.
Slow.
Inevitable. The bunker presses in around you, cold and steady. Your back rests against the concrete, hands on the MG42, fingers flexing slowly, rhythmically. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, indifferent. The wind whispers softly through the cracks, carrying salt and faint smoke from far away. You breathe deliberately.
In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. Across the distant beach, shadows move in slightly larger groups now, coordinated, deliberate. Klaus leans forward, eyes narrowed, tension in his shoulders. Neither of you speaks. The low hum you felt before grows subtly, steady and persistent. It blends with the rhythm of the waves, almost hypnotic. Time stretches, measured only by slow motion of sea and sand. Muller scrapes his cards across the crate softly. Becca whispers faintly, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing the floor lightly. Each small sound seems amplified in the stillness. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes catch on the water again, slightly brighter this time. Shadows move slowly in small, coordinated clusters along the distant sand. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, persistent but subdued. You swallow slowly, focusing on your own breathing, letting it anchor you in the bunker's rhythm. The Ostripen murmur low in the next room, voices tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You cannot understand the words, yet the anxious tone reaches you. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never see again. Your thoughts drift to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly far away. A low rumble vibrates through the bunker floor, closer than before. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
17.
Cold.
Tired. waiting.
alive,
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move in deliberate clusters across the distant beach. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient.
slow,
Inevitable. The bunker feels colder tonight, concrete pressing against your back, hands resting lightly on the MG42. The metal is familiar, grounding, a steady weight in your fingers. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, slow and indifferent. The wind whistles through cracks, carrying salt and a faint trace of smoke from far away. You breathe slowly,
in, out, in, out,
waiting. Across the distant beach, shadows move in slightly larger, more deliberate groups. You lean toward the embrasure, shoulders tense but still. Klaus mirrors your posture, silent, alert. The low hum from before grows subtly, steady, almost hypnotic. Time stretches thin, measured only by the slow rhythm of the waves and the distant movements on the sand. Muller scrapes his cards across the crate softly. Becca whispers, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing lightly against the floor. Every small noise seems amplified in the stillness. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
flex,
Relax.
flex,
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, faint flashes reflect off the gray waves, appearing more frequently. Shadows shift in slow, deliberate patterns along the distant beach. Hunger twists quietly in your stomach, persistent but distant. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you in the bunker's rhythm. The Ostripan murmur low, voices tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You do not understand the words, yet their anxious tone carries. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never see again. Your own thoughts drift to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly distant. A low rumble reaches the bunker, vibrating faintly through the floor. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
flex,
Relax.
flex, in, out, in, out,
17.
cold,
Tired. Waiting.
alive,
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move in deliberate clusters along the distant beach. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient.
slow,
Inevitable. The bunker feels heavy tonight, cold pressing against your back, fingers resting lightly on the MG42. Its weight is familiar, grounding. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, slow and indifferent. The wind whispers softly through cracks, carrying salt and faint smoke from far away. You breathe slowly,
in, out, in, out,
waiting. Shadows on the distant beach shift more clearly now, moving in slightly larger, coordinated clusters. You lean forward slightly, eyes narrowing. Klaus mirrors you, silent, tense. The hum from before grows subtly louder, steady and rhythmic. Time stretches, measured only by the patient roll of waves and the distant movements beyond the bunker. Muller scrapes his cards softly, a quiet, steady rhythm. Becca whispers, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing lightly against the floor. Every small noise is magnified in the stillness. You flex your fingers over the MG42.
flex,
Relax.
flex,
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes appear more frequently, reflecting on the gray waves. Shadows move slowly across the distant sand, deliberate, patterned. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, persistent but subdued. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you in the bunker's rhythm. The Ostripan murmur in the next room, voices low and anxious. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You do not understand the words, yet the tone carries. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never see again. Your thoughts drift to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms now impossibly distant. A low rumble reaches the bunker, vibrating faintly through the floor, closer than before. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
17.
Cold.
Tired. Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move in deliberate, coordinated clusters across the distant beach. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient. Slow. Inevitable. The bunker presses in around you, cold and unyielding. Your back rests against the concrete, hands lightly on the MG42, fingers flexing slowly. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, indifferent and slow. The wind whispers through the cracks, carrying salt and a faint trace of smoke from far away. You breathe deliberately.
In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. Across the distant beach, shadows shift more clearly now, moving in slightly larger, coordinated clusters. You lean closer to the embrasure, eyes narrowing. Klaus mirrors your posture, silent and tense. The low hum you've been sensing grows subtly louder, steady and rhythmic, blending almost seamlessly with the slow, patient roll of waves. Time stretches, measured only by the motion of sea and sand. Muller scrapes his cards softly, a quiet rhythm. Becca whispers faintly, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing lightly against the floor. Every small sound feels amplified, emphasized by the monotony. You flex your fingers on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes appear more frequently, reflecting off the gray waves. Shadows move slowly across the distant sand, deliberate, patterned. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, persistent yet subdued. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you in the bunker's rhythm. The Ostripan murmur low in the next room, voices tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You do not understand the words, yet the anxious tone carries. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never see again. Your mind drifts to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms impossibly far away. A low rumble reaches the bunker, vibrating faintly through the floor, closer than before. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
17. Cold. Tired. Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move in deliberate, coordinated clusters across the distant beach. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient. Slow. Inevitable. The bunker is cold tonight, pressing against your back, fingers resting lightly on the MG42. Its familiar weight grounds you. Outside, the gray waves roll endlessly, indifferent, slow. The wind whistles softly through cracks, carrying salt and a faint trace of smoke from far away. You breathe deliberately.
In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. Across the distant beach, shadows move in slightly larger, coordinated clusters. You lean closer to the embrasure, eyes narrowing. Klaus mirrors your posture, silent, tense. The low hum from before grows subtly louder, steady and rhythmic, blending with the slow roll of waves. Time stretches, measured only by the motion of sea and sand. Muller scrapes his cards softly, a quiet, steady rhythm. Becca whispers faintly, curling against the wall. Hans shifts, boots brushing lightly against the floor. Every small noise feels amplified, emphasized by the monotony. You flex your fingers on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Comforting. Grounding. Familiar. Outside, flashes appear more frequently, reflecting off the gray waves. Shadows move slowly in deliberate, patterned groups across the distant sand. Hunger twists faintly in your stomach, persistent but muted. You swallow slowly, focusing on your breathing, letting it anchor you in the bunker's rhythm. The Ostrupin murmur in the next room, voices low and tense. Russian, Georgian, Polish. You cannot understand the words, yet their anxious tone carries. You imagine them thinking of homes they may never see again. Your mind drifts to sunlight through a kitchen window, the smell of bread baking, quiet rooms impossibly far away. Another low rumble reaches the bunker, vibrating faintly through the floor, slightly closer than before. Fingers flex again on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In, out, in, out.
17.
Cold.
Tired. Waiting.
Alive.
Outside, the gray horizon stretches endlessly. Waves roll. Wind whispers. Shadows move in deliberate, coordinated clusters across the distant beach. Somewhere far away, movement continues. Patient. Slow. Inevitable. You don't remember when night truly fell. The sky outside has become a deep, shifting gray, neither dark nor light, just endless. The wind's voice changes lower now, carrying a long, distant rhythm. It comes and goes like a heartbeat. Slow. Constant.
Dull.
Klaus stands near the embrasure, his outline motionless except for the slow rise and fall of his shoulders.
He doesn't speak.
No one does. The only sound is the steady breathing of men who have forgotten what silence feels like. You reach for your canteen, shake it once, empty. It's been empty for hours. Your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. You can taste dust, oil, salt. Every breath smells faintly of metal. Beyond the bunker, the horizon pulses faintly. Not lightning, too rhythmic for that. Just a steady, distant flicker, far beyond the beach. You think of the bombers you heard days ago, their engines droning above the clouds. But this light feels different. Measured. Intentional. Becker stirs beside the wall, murmuring something in his sleep. His hands twitch. You wonder what he dreams of. Not the war, probably. Maybe the quiet before it. Maybe nothing at all. Your fingers rest again on the MG42. Cold metal, smooth and real beneath your palms. It's the one thing that never changes here. Weight, texture, sound. You know every groove, every click. You could strip and reassemble it in the dark, blindfolded. You've done enough. Outside, the air smells sharper now, like ozone and wet sand. You hear a new sound, faint but distinct. The roll of engines low and far, blending with the sea. You glance toward Klaus. He's heard it too. His jaw is tight, eyes locked on the horizon. You whisper, barely a sound. Too rough for boats. He doesn't answer, just nods once, slow, like he's trying to believe it. The sound grows again, deep, patient, unhurried. You exhale, slow and steady.
In, out, in, out.
The night stretches, endless and gray. The night feels heavier now. You can sense it pressing against the concrete, a slow weight that settles into your chest. Each breath feels deliberate. controlled. The kind of breathing soldiers learn when waiting for something they can't control. The horizon is no longer a single shade of gray. There's a thin, uneven shimmer now, faint, like starlight caught on moving water. You blink, then blink again. The shimmer stays. Not stars. Not lightning. Something else. Klaus leans forward, elbows on the concrete ledge.
He doesn't speak.
You hear him swallow. The others have noticed too, small movements in the dark, shapes adjusting, the rustle of uniforms against rough stone. You wipe a hand across your face. The air feels damp, electric. There's a low thrum beneath the waves now, steady and growing, a sound you feel more than hear. Like distant thunder, but mechanical, heavy, measured. Becker moves beside you, his whisper barely a breath. Engines? You nod once. The word feels too small for what's coming. The sound deepens. The bunker vibrates faintly, just enough that the lantern flame beside the wall trembles. The shadows shift across Klaus's face. He looks older now, older than 30. His hands are steady, but his breathing isn't. You glance toward the MG-42. Its dark metal gleams faintly in the lantern light. You rest your hand on it. The coolness bites your skin, sharp, real. A small comfort in a night that feels increasingly unreal. Outside, the shimmer grows stronger. Still faint, still distant, but now with a pattern. Lines of light that seem to move together, low and wide across the water. You don't need anyone to tell you what they are. You already know. You whisper to yourself, just a single thought, soft enough to disappear into the sea's endless rhythm. They're coming. The wind shifts. The bunker creaks. Somewhere in the darkness, the world holds its breath. The sound comes first. A low, rolling vibration that moves through the concrete, through your boots, through your bones. It isn't loud, not yet, just deep. It hums in your ribs, a pulse that matches the rhythm of your breath. Outside, the shimmer on the horizon sharpens into small bursts of orange. Flashes, brief, distant, silent at first. Then, seconds later, the faintest echoes reach you, soft and muffled, like thunder heard through thick walls. Klaus exhales slowly, a sound halfway between awe and fear. You hear him whisper something that could be a prayer, or maybe just a thought escaping. Nobody answers. Becker's eyes are wide. He grips his rifle like it might float away if he lets go. The others stand motionless, every movement cautious, deliberate. You can feel the air tighten, the stillness before the storm that everyone knows is coming. Your stomach twists, half from hunger, half from understanding. You think of all those months staring at the sea, waiting. And now, after all that waiting, it's here.
Real.
Inevitable. You move closer to the embrasure, peer through the narrow slit. The sea looks alive, dotted with faint glows, moving in lines, hundreds of them. The lights shift with the waves, forming and reforming like some vast, breathing organism. The first real explosion lands far down the coast. Just a flash, then the faintest tremor underfoot. The next one is closer. A dull thud, then another. The pattern builds, slow and rhythmic, like a giant heartbeat echoing through the sand and steel. Dust sifts down from the ceiling. You brush it from your sleeve. Your hands tremble, not from fear exactly, but from the sheer weight of what's unfolding. Klaus doesn't look away from the window. He just says it quietly, almost to himself. It's begun. You nod once. Outside, the orange flashes bloom again, reflected in the water. Inside, the air smells of oil, sweat, and stone. And through it all, your heartbeat keeps time with the distant thunder, slow and steady. The air tastes different now. Dust and smoke, faint but unmistakable, drift through the cracks in the concrete. Each breath scratches your throat. You swallow against it, slow and steady.
In, out, in, out.
The rhythm keeps you calm, keeps you anchored. The ground trembles again, this time closer. Not violent, not yet, but enough to make the lantern sway. Its light moves gently across the wall, catching faces half in shadow. Muller looks up from his cards, finally. He doesn't say a word. You hear it now, the low, distant rhythm of guns. Not your guns.
Bigger, slower,
Measured. Naval guns. The kind you can feel before you hear. The kind that seem to bend the air before they arrive. Outside, the horizon flashes again. A ripple of orange and white that rolls across the sea. The sound follows after a long second later. Deep, heavy, patient. Each blast walks toward you through the distance, each one closer than the last. Klaus's voice is a whisper, barely sound. They're softening the beaches. You nod once. Words feel unnecessary now. Everyone knows what this means. You adjust your grip on the MG-42, fingers resting gently on the cold metal. You don't raise it, not yet. It's too far, too dark. The weapon is just there, like a promise. A gust of wind slips through the firing slit, carrying the sharp tang of salt and burning fuel. You close your eyes for a moment, feel it against your skin. The world outside the bunker feels vast, endless, alive with motion. The next explosion lands closer, not near enough to threaten, but enough that the bunker's ceiling sheds a fine layer of dust. It floats in the lantern light, slow and weightless. You watch it drift down. Tiny particles spinning, silent. Beautiful almost. Becker exhales shakily beside you. You hear him mutter. It sounds like the earth breathing.
And in a way, it does.
Each blast rises, falls, and fades like waves. Heavy, ancient, inevitable. You lean your head back against the concrete.
Cold, solid, real.
The world outside is burning. Inside, you keep breathing.
In, out, in, out.
Waiting. The next blast comes closer. You feel it before you hear it, a rolling pressure that moves through the bunker walls like a slow wave. The air tightens, thickens, hums. Then the sound arrives, deep, massive, endless. The lantern flickers once, then steadies. You glance at the ceiling. A few thin cracks in the concrete shift almost imperceptibly, a fine rain of dust following each tremor. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. The stillness has its own language now. Outside, through the embrasure, the beach is a dark blur. But the flashes, they come faster now, lower to the water, wider across the horizon. Each one blooms orange, fades gray, then is replaced by another. It looks like the sea is breathing fire. Klaus leans forward slightly, his face lit by the stuttering light. They're hitting the obstacles, he murmurs. You can hear the awe in his voice, not fear, something quieter, heavier. The sound of realization. You listen. Between the distant thunder of shells, there's another noise now, a sharper rhythm, metallic, scattered. Fragments raining down, debris striking stone and sand. You imagine twisted metal poles, shredded wire, the careful traps you built for months tearing apart in seconds. The smell changes again, smoke now, thick and bitter. It crawls into the bunker, faint but unmistakable. It mixes with oil, with dust, with sweat. Muller coughs once, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. No one tells him to be quiet. There's nothing to hide from anymore. The ground shudders again, closer. A faint ringing in your ears lingers after each impact, a soft, steady tone that becomes part of the silence. You blink slow. You realize you've stopped keeping track of time. The bombardment has no rhythm you can follow, just endless motion, endless sound. You glance at Becker. His eyes are shut, but he isn't asleep. His lips move silently, a name maybe or a prayer. You look back to the embrasure. The sea is still there, vast and gray, glowing with fire and mist. You breathe in the smoke, the salt, the faint metallic tang of fear. Exhale slowly.
In, out, in, out.
The war has reached the edge of your world, still distant, but no longer waiting. The sky begins to change. Not quickly, not all at once, just a thin gray line stretching across the edge of the sea. You notice it between flashes, a lighter band breaking the black. The first hint of morning. The shelling hasn't stopped, but it's become part of the world now, steady, rhythmic, distant. You can almost predict it. The pause, the tremor, the roll through the concrete. It's a heartbeat, heavy and constant. You blink through the embrasure. The sea glows faintly now, reflecting the gray light. Smoke drifts low across the water, twisting slowly. Beneath it, you start to see shapes. Long, dark shapes moving in the waves.
Dozens of them.
No, hundreds. Your breath catches. You lean closer. The horizon is alive. Lines of ships, ranks of them, stretching beyond what you can see. Klaus sees them too. He doesn't speak, just stares. His lips part slightly, as if trying to find words that don't exist. Muller moves beside him, silent, eyes wide. Becker's fingers tighten on his rifle until his knuckles go white. The sea hums with engines. The low drone rolls through the air, so vast and deep it feels like the ocean itself is growling. You can't look away. The light keeps growing, gray turning to silver, silver to pale blue. Morning arrives slow and cold, pulling the night away inch by inch. Now you can see them clearly, rows of ships stretching to the horizon. Battleships, cruisers, landing craft, the largest armada the world has ever seen. And all of it moving toward you. You rest your palm against the cold barrel of the MG-42. For a moment, you forget to breathe. No one speaks. There are no orders, no shouts, no panic. Just the sea, alive with motion. The faint hiss of the tide. The steady pulse of engines. You realize the waiting is over. Whatever comes next, it's already begun. You breathe again.
Slow.
Steady.
In, out, in, out.
And as the dawn spreads over the water, you whisper without meaning to, a thought meant for no one. So this is it. For a few seconds, everything holds.
The sea.
The sky. Even the air itself seems to hesitate, as if the world knows what's about to happen and wants one final moment of quiet before it begins. You can hear your own breathing, the steady hum of engines across the water, the faint metallic rattle of someone's trembling hand behind you. That's all. Klaus lowers his binoculars. His face is pale, jaw tight. He doesn't look at you when he speaks. They're lining up. You see it too now, the smaller boats shifting formation, sliding into neat, deliberate rows. The landing craft, tiny against the wide gray sea, moving closer with every passing minute. The sky has turned the color of steel. Smoke drifts low, thick and unmoving. Each time the big guns far out on the water fire, the horizon flashes white, then orange, then gray again. You don't hear the shells at first, just the light. The sound comes later, rolling in like thunder after lightning. The first impact hits somewhere down the coast. The ground shakes, a dull, heavy thud that echoes up through your boots. Then another, and another. A slow rhythm building, patient, relentless. Muller crosses himself. Becker whispers under his breath. You don't move. You just stare at the horizon. The invasion fleet stretches endlessly, like a dark wall crawling toward shore. Inside the bunker, the air feels tighter now. The smoke has crept in, curling along the ceiling, thin but constant. The lantern flickers once, then steadies again. You think of the fields back home, the quiet after summer rain, the way the earth smelled clean. It's a strange thought to have now, but it stays with you, soft, stubborn, human. The next blast lands closer. The sound is a living thing now, deep and wide, rolling through the bunker's bones. You feel it in your teeth. You can almost taste it. Klaus's voice cuts through the ringing.
Calm. Certain.
Positions. The word is quiet, but final, like the closing of a door. You take your place behind the MG-42. Your hands rest on the grips.
Cold.
Familiar. Ready. Outside, the sea glows with fire. Inside, you breathe once more.
In. Out. In. Out.
And wait for the first shot to come. The next blast lands close enough that the walls breathe. You feel the pressure before the sound, a slow, invisible force that moves through concrete and bone alike. Then comes the roar. It rolls through the bunker like a wave breaking underwater. The lantern flickers, swings once on its hook, then steadies again. You don't move. None of you do. There's nowhere to go. The bunker is a shell, thick, gray, unyielding. A coffin built to wait. The next shell hits closer. The air jumps hot and heavy. Dust falls from the ceiling in fine gray threads. You watch it drift down through the trembling light, tiny particles turning lazily, beautiful in their own way. The sound outside is changing.
Not just artillery now.
A sharper rhythm, overlapping, the staccato rattle of machine guns, faint but growing. You picture them, small boats slicing through the waves, rows of soldiers packed together, faces pale in the rising dawn. Klaus crouches beside you, one hand pressed against the concrete wall, as if he can steady the whole world by touch alone. His lips move silently, counting maybe or praying. You can't tell. Becker flinches at another blast. The shockwave moves through the air like heat off a road. Your ears ring. Your heartbeat feels louder than the bombardment for a moment, a single steady rhythm in the chaos. Then, quiet again. Not silence, just a lull. A breath between impacts. The world inhales. You look out through the embrasure. The sea is no longer gray. It's white now, froth, smoke, churned up sand. The horizon burns orange. The landing craft are closer, clearer. You can see their shapes now, the flat bows, the tall silhouettes of men standing shoulder to shoulder.
Your throat feels dry.
You swallow, slow, careful. Klaus whispers, "Wait for the signal." You nod. The MG-42 is ready, your hands resting on the grips. You know what comes next. You can feel it in your bones. The waiting is almost over. Another shell lands far down the beach, then another, closer, then closer still. The rhythm becomes a heartbeat again.
Thud. Pause. Thud.
Each one marking the seconds until the first boat hits sand. You breathe.
In. Out. In. Out.
The dawn has fully broken now, pale, colorless, endless. And somewhere beyond the smoke, the world begins to move. The next explosion hits close, too close. The bunker groans like a living thing. A deep, low sound, as if the concrete itself feels pain. Dust fills the air, thick and fine, turning the lantern light into fog. You blink hard, cough once, taste grit on your tongue. Then another blast. Closer still. The floor jumps under you just a few centimeters, but enough that your body feels weightless for half a heartbeat. Then comes the rain, not water, but dirt, small stones, bits of ceiling. It falls softly, like snow that burns when it touches your skin. Klaus shouts something you can't hear over the ringing in your ears. You catch only one word. Ready. You move to the embrasure, eyes watering from the smoke. The view outside has changed. The water near the shore is boiling, waves colliding with fire and metal. The first landing craft are there now, dropping their ramps into the chaos. Tiny dark figures spill out, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, running through smoke and surf. The sea foams red in streaks. You can't see faces, only movement. They keep coming, wave after wave, like the tide itself has learned to walk. Your hands find the MG-42's grips. They feel colder than before, almost slick. You line up the sights, but your mind is distant, detached. Everything moves too slowly, like a dream where sound and motion come half a second late. The gunfire outside grows louder. Sharp, metallic, constant. It rolls along the beach like wind through dry grass, one continuous sound made of thousands of smaller ones. Another shell lands, this time just beyond your bunker. The concussion slams through the embrasure, a flash of white, a roar, and then black dust. You duck instinctively, ears ringing, heart pounding against your ribs. When you look again, the scene outside is changed once more. Smoke covers everything. You can still see shapes, men, movement, flashes. But the horizon is gone. The world is now just gray, red, and sound. You breathe through the dust, slow, shallow.
In, out, in, out.
You think of home for half a second. Sunlight, bread, a small window, and then the next blast erases the thought completely. The invasion has begun. The sound doesn't stop anymore. It's not a series of blasts or bursts. It's one continuous roar, the ocean and the sky and the earth all screaming together. You stop trying to separate them. You just breathe through it.
Slow.
Even. Controlled. The walls tremble with every impact, fine cracks tracing their way like veins across the concrete. Dust drifts down in thin, glowing ribbons. You can taste the gun oil now, bitter and metallic, sitting on the back of your tongue. Through the embrasure, the world is smoke and motion. Flashes strobe the horizon, orange, white, red. The shapes of men flicker and disappear. You can't tell where one ends and another begins. You start to fire. Not as a choice, not as thought, just as a reflex. The MG-42 shudders to life, the barrel glowing faintly even after the first burst. The sound is deafening up close, but distant at the same time, like hearing your own heartbeat from underwater. The recoil becomes rhythm. The rhythm becomes breath. You move with it, in, out, squeeze, release. The rest of the world fades into pulse and motion. Shells burst along the beach, heavy, dull, final. Bits of sand and steel whip through the air, striking the bunker's walls with sharp, snapping sounds. Each hit feels close enough to reach through you. Becker is shouting something, his voice lost to the roar. His mouth moves, his eyes wide, but the words never make it to your ears. You nod anyway. It doesn't matter what he said. Everything now is instinct, movement, repetition. Smoke creeps deeper into the bunker. It curls around your boots, rising in lazy spirals, carrying the smell of earth, metal, and fire. It's thick enough to taste. You cough once, blink hard, keep firing. Outside, the landing craft keep coming. New waves behind the old, endless lines pushing forward. The sea itself seems made of ships. The horizon has vanished completely now, nothing but smoke and noise where the world used to be. For a moment you stop firing, just breathing. You watch the chaos unfold through the small slit of vision you have. You think, this is what the end of waiting sounds like. You rest your forehead against the cool steel of the gun. The vibration hums through your skin. The bunker trembles again, dust falling in steady rhythm. You breathe once more.
In, out, in, out.
Somewhere outside, dawn turns to full morning, though the sun never shows its face. The world has shrunk to concrete and steel, smoke and dust. The walls vibrate constantly now, a low, insistent pulse that moves through your chest. Every explosion outside presses against you, yet also feels distant, unreal, like watching a storm through a thick, fogged window. You breathe slowly, mechanically.
In, out, in, out.
Each breath counts as proof that you are still here. Becker rocks slightly back and forth, muttering in a low, trembling voice. The words are incoherent. You don't hear them. They don't matter. The sound itself is what counts, a rhythm, a measure of time, a heartbeat amid chaos. Klaus sits near the corner, shoulders sagged, eyes staring at nothing. He isn't asleep, but neither is he awake. Just waiting, moving in tune with the bunker itself. The MG42 rests across your lap, warm from use. You flex your fingers on the grips.
Flex,
Relax.
flex.
The motion repeats. It is the only thing steady, the only thing real. Outside, the smoke has thickened. Flashes of orange and white flicker intermittently. The horizon is lost. The shapes of landing craft, men, and fire blur together. Each burst of fire, each shell landing, is absorbed into the haze, indistinct, distant, like memories of explosions rather than real events. Muller coughs softly, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Dust tastes like metal. You imagine the sea beyond the smoke, endless, gray, moving, but you cannot see it clearly. It is only light, motion, sound. The bunker trembles again, dust falling in thin streams from the ceiling. You rest your head against the cold concrete. Your hands loosen slightly on the MG42.
Flex.
Relax.
In, out, in, out.
Time has no meaning here anymore. Only rhythm, only pulse, only survival. The world outside is chaos. Inside, you're suspended, waiting, watching, breathing. A distant thud vibrates through the concrete, sharper this time. The bunker shudders under it. Dust falls from the ceiling in long, lazy threads. You taste it on your tongue, fine grit like gray sand, mingled with the bitter tang of gun oil. Becker groans softly. You glance at him. His shoulder is scraped, a thin cut, darkening with dust. He hasn't noticed it yet, or perhaps doesn't care.
You don't speak.
You just nod, half in acknowledgement, half in ritual. The MG42 rests across your lap. Your fingers flex along the barrel.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
The motion keeps your mind tethered. Outside, the bursts continue. Rhythmic, distant, yet insistent. You cannot ignore them, yet cannot focus on them fully either. Klaus leans against the wall, back straight, but hands trembling. He shifts slightly and winces. Something has struck near him, sand or metal, you cannot tell. The bunker has become its own small world, vibrating with impacts, with movement, with tension. Muller coughs again, more violently this time. He wipes dust from his eyes, looks around briefly. No one speaks. Everyone has learned the rhythm of the bunker. Tremor, flash, dust, breathe, repeat. The smell has changed. Smoke from the outside has seeped in deeper. The bitter, metallic tang of blood mixes faintly with dust. You taste it in the air. Outside, you can see only shapes now. Flashes of orange and white, silhouettes moving through smoke and haze. Men, ships, fire, debris, all indistinct, merging into one continuous motion. The horizon no longer exists. Your hands tighten briefly on the MG42, then relax.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
The rhythm anchors you, keeps you grounded. Somewhere behind you, another thud. Becker shifts again, mumbling. You glance back. No one is hurt badly yet, just scratched, shaken, aware. Awareness is heavy enough. You close your eyes for a moment. Feel the vibrations through the concrete. The air tastes sharp, electric, alive. You breathe again.
In. Out. In. Out.
The world is fractured, but you are still here, waiting, breathing. The next impact hits near enough that the walls groan. Dust rains down in thin sheets, drifting lazily through the lantern light. You feel it settle on your skin, your hair, your clothes. It tastes like stone and smoke, bitter and heavy. Becker rocks slightly back and forth, eyes squeezed shut. You notice the fine scratches along his arm from falling debris. He doesn't speak, just breathes slowly, mechanically, as though counting each inhale keeps him alive. Klaus grips the edge of the concrete ledge, knuckles white. His hands tremble. You don't say anything. Words are useless now. Only motion matters.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
The MG42 rests ready across your lap. Its weight is grounding, familiar, steady. The bunker shudders again, stronger this time. The ceiling vibrates. Tiny cracks shift, tracing their way slowly across the reinforced concrete. Dust falls like fine gray snow. Each tremor is a pulse, slow and insistent, a heartbeat of the battle outside. Outside, the flashes continue, orange, white, and gray. The shapes of men moving through smoke and surf are now almost abstract. You cannot distinguish one from another. You focus on the rhythm. Flash, tremor, dust, breath. A low whistle reaches you, faint but distinct, sand and debris striking the bunker's exterior. You flinch slightly. Inhale. Exhale.
In. Out. In. Out. Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Muller coughs quietly, the dust rough in his throat. The smell has changed, smoke mixed with sand, oil, and the faint coppery tang of blood. It drifts into the bunker and clings to everything. The world outside is chaos, but inside, you move with rhythm. Each breath, each heartbeat, each flex of your fingers on the MG42 is a tether to reality. The tremors continue. The flashes continue. The distant roar of engines and artillery becomes a constant vibration in your chest. You close your eyes briefly. The bunker rocks again. Another tremor. Another pulse. And you keep breathing.
In. Out. In. Out.
Waiting. A low, groaning sound echoes through the bunker. Concrete shifts somewhere above you. Dust flutters down like gray snow, thicker this time, coating hair, skin, clothes. You taste it, dry, metallic, heavy. Becker presses his palms against his knees, rocking slightly. A thin line of dust streaks across his cheek from a shifting ceiling fragment. He doesn't speak, only breathes slowly.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Klaus leans closer to the wall, fingertips tracing the rough surface as if grounding himself. The MG42 rests across your lap. Its weight is constant, familiar, a steady anchor in the vibrating, unstable world. The tremors are stronger now. Another shell hits extremely close. The walls shudder violently, dust clouds exploding from cracks and gaps. A small chunk of concrete falls to the floor. You glance at it, the edges jagged, gray, harmless for now, yet a reminder that the bunker is not invincible. Outside, the flashes and smoke remain constant. The horizon is obscured by a curtain of gray and orange, a shifting, living painting of destruction. Shapes move through the surf, fleeting, abstract. You don't distinguish one man from another. It is all motion, all rhythm. Muller coughs, dust in his throat. The air tastes sharp, smoke, grit, the faint iron tang of blood. You inhale slowly, exhale, and repeat.
In, out, flex,
Relax.
flex,
You glance at the ceiling. The cracks spread lazily, almost hypnotically. The bunker feels alive, breathing in time with the bombardment outside. Each tremor, each pulse, each flash becomes part of the rhythm, something to follow, something to exist within. The world outside rumbles constantly. Engines, artillery, crashing surf, a distant, unrelenting heartbeat. You close your eyes briefly, head against cool concrete, letting the vibrations move through you. Another small chunk of concrete falls. Dust settles. You breathe.
in, out, in, out.
The world shakes, but you remain. The air vibrates again. This time it carries more than sound, a faint heat, a sharp tang that curls into your nostrils. Outside, the first small fires ignite along the sand near the bunker. They flare briefly, orange and blue, then are swallowed by smoke. A fragment of metal ricochets somewhere outside, striking the outer concrete with a dull, vibrating thud. You hear it through the walls, feel it through your boots. Another tremor follows, slightly stronger, a warning. Becker shifts again, rocking slowly. He coughs once, dust rough in his throat. The cut along his arm has darkened slightly with streaks of dirt and sweat. He doesn't speak. No one speaks.
Flex,
Relax.
flex,
Klaus leans closer to the embrasure, peering through the smoke. His face is pale, almost blending into the concrete behind him. He murmurs a word you don't catch. Maybe a warning. Maybe a prayer. The MG42 rests across your lap. Its metal glows faintly in the lantern light. You flex your fingers over it again, the only thing steady, the only anchor in this shifting, vibrating world.
in, out, in, out.
Outside, smoke curls over the sand, flames flicker, debris spins slowly in the air. Each flash from shellfire lights the scene in stark, unnatural patterns, yet you see only shapes, movement, rhythm. The world has reduced to pulses, flash, tremor, dust, breath. Muller wipes his eyes. Dust, smoke, sweat, it all mixes in the harsh light of distant flames. He doesn't speak, only breathes. You do the same.
Slow, steady,
Controlled.
in, out, in, out.
Another small tremor. Dust drifts lazily from the ceiling. Tiny fragments strike the floor, clinking softly. You glance at them. Jagged edges, harmless for now, yet reminders of what is outside. You return to the embrasure. The fires flicker, the smoke swirls, the horizon pulses with distant flashes. And still you breathe.
In, out, flex,
Relax.
flex.
The world is chaos, but you exist within rhythm. A thin wisp of smoke drifts through a crack near the entrance. It curls slowly, lazily, carrying the sharp tang of burning sand and metal. The air inside changes subtly, heavier, warmer, scented with faint copper. You taste it on your tongue. Becker shifts slightly, coughing quietly. His movements are slow, deliberate, as if every action must be measured. Dust coats his hair, sweat mixes with grime along his arms. He breathes in.
Out, in, out.
Klaus moves toward the corner, holding his head low. A fine layer of smoke clings to his skin. His hands tremble, brushing dust from his clothes. You watch him breathe. Slow,
steady, controlled.
the MG42 rests across your lap. Its weight is grounding. You flex your fingers along the barrel. Flex. Relax.
Flex.
The rhythm keeps you tethered while the world shifts outside. Outside, the fires flicker through thickening smoke, shadows dancing across the sand. Shells strike further along the beach. Each blast sends vibrations rolling through the bunker, low, insistent, a pulse you can feel in your chest. The ceiling above you groans faintly. Dust drifts down in thin clouds, drifting with the gentle currents created by heat and movement. Tiny fragments of concrete fall, clinking softly against the floor. You glance at them, tracing the slow, hypnotic path of their descent. Muller coughs softly, dust choking him. He wipes his eyes, then leans against the wall, still and quiet. Nobody speaks. There is nothing to say. Only rhythm remains.
Flash.
Tremor.
Dust. Breath. In. Out. In. Out.
The smoke thickens, swirling through the bunker like liquid. It is slow. It is heavy. It is alive. You close your eyes for a moment, pressing your forehead to the cool concrete of the wall. Another tremor shakes the bunker. Dust drifts down. The world outside roils, but inside, you exist only in rhythm.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
The battle continues, yet your breathing carries you through it. The ground shakes again, stronger this time. The bunker vibrates beneath you, a low, rolling pulse that moves through your chest, your bones, your skull. Dust falls in thick, slow ribbons from the ceiling, drifting lazily through the dim lantern light. Becker rocks slightly, coughing. His scratches have deepened from the falling debris, but he doesn't notice. He breathes in.
Out. In. Out.
Each inhalation deliberate, slow. Klaus leans forward toward the embrasure, eyes wide behind the dust. He traces a finger along the rough concrete, grounding himself. His hands tremble, but the motion is rhythmic.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Outside, the world has become a blur of orange, gray, and black. Flashes mark explosions, waves crash violently against the sand, and the landing craft push forward relentlessly. The shapes of men moving in the surf are almost abstract now, figures dissolving into the smoke and light. A larger shell strikes extremely close. The concussion rattles through the bunker, shaking dust and small fragments of concrete into the air. The sound is deep, resonant, like the earth itself has exhaled. You duck slightly, ears ringing, heart hammering. Muller coughs again, dust rough in his throat. He wipes it away, leans against the wall, still and quiet. Nobody speaks. The rhythm of the bunker dominates. Flash, tremor, dust, breath. You grip the MG42 tightly. Its weight grounds you, its presence familiar amid chaos.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In. Out. In. Out.
Smoke curls thicker now, drifting across the bunker floor. The heat from outside is faint but perceptible. The air tastes metallic and sharp. You close your eyes briefly, pressing your forehead to the cold concrete. Another tremor shakes the bunker. Dust falls again lazily. The world outside is chaos.
Inside you breathe. In. Out. In. Out. Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
Waiting. Watching. Surviving. Another tremor shakes the bunker, stronger this time. Dust flutters down in thick, slow sheets, coating hair, skin, and uniforms. You taste it, gritty, metallic, heavy on your tongue. Becker shifts again, more violently this time, a thin line of blood streaking from a cut on his arm where falling debris grazed him. He doesn't speak, only breathes in slow, deliberate motions.
In, out, in, out.
Klaus leans against the wall, eyes wide, tracing cracks in the concrete with trembling fingertips. The MG42 rests across your lap, warm and familiar.
Flex,
Relax.
flex.
Its weight anchors you amidst chaos. Outside, flashes mark the relentless assault, explosions lighting smoke, surf and sand in harsh, stuttering pulses. Shapes of men move through surf and debris, indistinct, shifting, merging with the smoke. Muller coughs violently, dust rough in his throat. He presses a hand to his mouth, then leans back, eyes closed briefly. You feel the tension in the air, thick, heavy, vibrating in rhythm with the bunker itself. A larger shell hits extremely close. The floor jumps under you, and a tiny chunk of concrete falls. Dust and debris swirl, but you remain still. You watch the movement outside through the embrasure. Fire, smoke, shapes, motion. The world is reduced to pulses, flash, tremor, dust, breath. Your hands tighten briefly on the MG42, then relax.
Flex,
Relax.
flex. In, out, in, out.
Each breath keeps you grounded, tethered to the slow rhythm that persists despite the chaos. The air tastes of smoke and iron, curls through the bunker lazily. Heat seeps faintly through the cracks. You close your eyes for a moment, pressing your forehead against the cool concrete. Another tremor, another dust fall. You inhale, exhale. The world outside rumbles relentlessly. Inside, you breathe.
In, out, in, out. Flex,
Relax.
flex.
Waiting. Scene 39 introduces minor injuries and early panic while maintaining the slow, immersive, sleep-inducing pace. A deafening explosion hits right outside the bunker. The concrete groans, a deep, vibrating sound that travels through your bones. Dust and tiny shards of stone drift down in slow, lazy streams, coating hair, skin, and clothing. Becker presses his arm across a fresh scrape, breathing shallowly.
He doesn't speak. In, out, in, out. Flex,
Relax.
flex.
The rhythm carries him through the shock. Klaus crouches at the embrasure, eyes wide, fingertips tracing cracks in the concrete. His hands tremble slightly, but he remains steady in motion. The MG42 rests across your lap, warm, heavy, familiar. Outside, the world is a blur of fire, smoke, and motion. Landing craft crash into the surf. Men spill onto sand, fleeting silhouettes against the orange and gray haze. Explosions light the horizon in stuttering pulses, merging with smoke and debris. Muller coughs, dust rough in his throat. Heat from outside drifts through cracks, carrying the sharp tang of burning sand and metal. You taste it in the air. The bunker shakes again. A chunk of concrete falls near the lantern, scattering dust. You glance at it. Jagged, gray, harmless for now, but a reminder that the structure is not invincible. You close your eyes briefly, pressing your forehead to the cool concrete. Another tremor. Dust falls. You inhale slowly. Exhale.
In, out, in, out. Flex,
Relax.
flex.
The world outside rumbles, roars, and moves relentlessly. Inside, you exist only in rhythm.
Flash,
Tremor.
dust, breath. In, out, in, out. Flex,
Relax.
flex.
For now, you are still. Watching. Breathing. Surviving. The bombardment slows, though the world outside remains fractured. Smoke drifts lazily across the sand, curling into the gray sky. Flashes of fire still mark the distant beach, but the intensity has softened, leaving only echoes and vibration. Inside the bunker, the air is thick with dust, metallic and sharp. The men breathe slowly, deliberately, each inhale a small victory over chaos. Becker sits on a crate, head bowed, arm pressed against a faintly bleeding scratch. Klaus rests against the wall, eyes half closed, still tracing cracks in the concrete. Muller coughs once, quietly, then leans back, motionless. You press your forehead to the cool concrete of the bunker wall. The MG-42 rests across your lap, warm, heavy grounding.
Flex.
Relax.
Flex. In, out, in, out.
The rhythm carries through the silence that now stretches across the room, a tether to the steady heartbeat of survival. Outside, the horizon is gray. The fires burn low, smoke curling into the air. Shapes move in the distance, but they are no longer men or craft. Only motion, only shadows, only memory of the storm. You breathe.
Slow.
Even. Deliberate.
In, out, in, out. Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
The bunker has survived. The world has shifted, but you remain. Waiting. Watching. Breathing. Surviving. And now, for a moment, the storm pauses. The gray light filters through cracks, soft and still. The dust settles. The air tastes faintly of smoke, iron, and stone. You close your eyes. Let the rhythm take you.
In, out, in, out. Flex.
Relax.
Flex.
The battle will continue. The world outside will not rest. But here, in this concrete shelter, the present exists only as breath, heartbeat, dust, and light. A fragile, enduring pause. And slowly, finally, you drift,